The other big story to come out of the NRL this week is a few guys have come forward. Jason Taumalolo being the most prominent. That he said he wants to play Origin. So Jason, he wants to play for Queensland. He's born in Auckland, lived in New Zealand until the age of 13, straight to Townsville, and already he's represented Tonga and New Zealand. Viliama Kikau from the Panthers, he's come forward as well. He said he wants to play Origin. He's already played 11 games for Fiji. And the NRL is sort of looking like they might be open to this. They might be moving the Pacific Island Test matches to their end of the year, and they might change the rules, which are very murky as it is, to allow players that have lived in New South Wales or Queensland before they turn 13, or I think 13 inclusive.
For the teenagers, essentially.
Yeah, which would allow Taumalolo to play. There's been a lot of backlash against this. I know Paul Ken and Gordon Tallis were very quick to criticise.
I know, especially the old boys and the Queensland, mentality.
Yeah,
their culture. We are not super keen on it.
I thought you blokes just pinch people from everywhere. You Queensland.
You blokes can't talk. New South Wales is the same.
That's in Queensland. And there's sort of a lot of grey area. There's actually a bloody flow chart that Monk's found, but we won't go into that. We can barely add up simple addition on
quick
the
maths
Esky here. Yeah, because the quick maths sucks. So getting our head around this flow chart, but there is an eligibility flow chart available for anyone that does want to try and get stuck into that. And it's so grey already because there's guys that have already played for New Zealand and played Origin. So Craig Smith played for the Kiwis. Tony Carroll played for the Kiwis. James Tarmow played for the New Zealand Maori. And then they all played Origin. And Akila Uwate played for Fiji, played Origin. Willie Mason played for Tonga, played Origin. So there's already holes in the current system.
A lot of those guys, I think, did the inverse, though, as in they played Origin first and then played for one of the smaller nations.
Ooh, I don't know about
but
that.
But not the Kiwis ones, sorry, the Island Nation ones.
Yeah.
When it came to
I know Tony Carroll
time, it was open slow though. You found any inkling because they wanted the best players out there.
I know Tony Carroll played for Queensland before he played for New Zealand. I'm not sure about James or Craig Smith.
Also, Willie Mason, we're only talking 15, 20 years ago, but the power of Tonga as a nation, they probably were like, oh, yeah, go, it'll make for a more interesting game. You want to play for Tonga? Yeah, sweet, no worries. Whereas now it's like, Tonga's, an island nation of 150,000 people. They might beat Australia.
Well, and that's what it sort of comes down to when it comes to Origin. What do you want from Origin? Do you want that state passion where you're a Queenslander or you're a New South Welshman and you love that, or do you just want the best players possible out there? What do you want from it? You want a bit of a mix. I understand that, but if you want that, then let's call it an all-star game. Let's put everyone in there. But it's not that. Like we don't. That's what we love about it. And you've got mates who are Queenslanders and New South Welshmen, and you barrack them no matter what. Queensland win every year, and you think New South Wales think, this is our year, and it's your team. And it's only 3 games a year, and it's brilliant. But it's not about having the best players. It's about having the best New South Wales from the best Queenslanders, and they're your boys. And it's so I always love it. And I'm so jealous as like an AFL fan from way back because you hate the Roosters all year, but then when it comes to Origin time, you know Mitch Pearce, he's around. But that's great. That's awesome because he's on your team. So, I'm against it, to be honest. Yeah, and it is a bit, people might say it's the old school dinosaur way, but it's not what it is. It's not about having just the best guys out there. It's about having.
Well, they tried some of the All-Star games against the Indigenous team, and that kind of died off because it had no meaning until they did the Indigenous versus Maori teams, which is a lot better content
that you're passionate about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what sport is, meaning something, not just watching the best go around. It's
and we've seen how the All-Star games have gone in the States as a comparison. There's just a
spectacle there.
It's NBA
it's
a kick round essentially.
Or the Pro Bowl, they'd rather not have it. They're playing
Madden. I'm in your camp, Mac. I do think, and I'm maybe call me a dinosaur or whatever, but I do like that. It's uniquely for Queenslanders and New South Welshmen. Although there has been these few examples that we've noted. Most of it is guys that bleed blue or bleed maroon, and you got to think from the player's perspective. of course they want to cash in on Origin.
Yeah.
You get paid 30 grand a game, 40 grand a game.
Yeah.
And you can't, I suppose, question someone's passion or integrity for a state. If you live somewhere from 13, you probably are passionate.
Yeah.
But
Jason, for example, he played for Queensland coming up through, schoolboys and that. So
and he's lived in, like, he moved to Townsville. He had his teenage years there. He got signed by the Cowboys, and he's been based in Townsville his whole life since coming over. So I can see the intent there. Obviously,
but the other side of that is like he picked New Zealand instead of Australia, and then he reneged on New Zealand to then play for Samoa, I think, from memory, or Tonga. So he's done that, and State of Origin is very much about also building towards the Australian Test team. It's the not grading, but it is kind of like the grading to work out like who are the best Australian players, and then picking the Australian Test team for international. And I think this kind of more speaks towards what international rugby league is and probably needs to improve on. For that reason, because so these guys have that alternative where they can make good money, and then those international games are a good spectacle. Yeah,
it's the only part of the game that's lagging behind rugby union in this country is I suppose the interest and the passion around the national team. And
well, I'll put it this way: people avoid playing for Australia at the end of the year for injury and the fatigue. Come Origin, people want to be there, and they will put their body on the line for their state. That's a complete different way of looking at it.
Maybe the NRL or the ARL needs to come forward and reward guys for playing for Australia with a little bit more cash.
But then, again, you're not doing it for the money. Then you're doing it. You're
doing it for the jersey.
People would pay for New South Wales, play for New South Wales for free. Like, you can just tell that passion, but you can't manufacture that passion. So that's what I'm trying to get.
There's a lot of history behind Origin.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah.
You don't really get that with the national team, I guess.
There is a lot of history.
There is a lot of history.
It just feels like it doesn't mean that much.
I think maybe in the last, say, 30 odd years, though, that history's been heavily dominated by Australia. So maybe, this could essentially be the change in the guard too. So in the next 5 years, with England are definitely going to be better, Kiwis are going to be better, and then all the smaller nations that are already getting more guys recognised and playing for them. Some of the guys that can't make Australia or New Zealand and then committing to the other ones, which is good because it's then building up those teams. So it should theoretically build up the international game in the next World Cup, which is 2 years away.
Couldn't tell you. It's Rugby League World Cup.
Exactly.
There you go. I think you're proving my point.
I think a couple of years away, the next World Cup should be fantastic, and then hopefully by that point, the international game will then follow on and be what it needs to be, where it's passionate and everyone loves it, everyone's watching it, just like they are State of Origin.
This.
There you go. It's going to be this year.
You're kidding.
There you go.
But
I knew it was
exactly what we're talking about. Yeah,
exactly what we're talking about.
So, hard sell, but would you expand the teams for State of Origin?
How?
What do you mean?
Like have a Polynesian team?
Oh, no.
No.
Because it's state by state. You have to add like a Victorian team. But then it doesn't work.
But they used to talk about this by adding New Zealand when Australia was so dominant, and we used to beat like the Kiwis by so much. They used to say, "Oh, maybe we'll make it three." New South Wales, Queensland, New Zealand, and that used to be a chat. I don't think they go that way. That
takes away from the history then, and it waters down what we're talking about, what we love so much.
And an international team playing against state teams doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, it doesn't. No. But I do remember it being something years and years ago that had been considered. They're not touching State of Origin. The way it is.
It's the rugby leagues.
It's the pinnacle. It's the pinnacle of rugby league.
That's what they have, and all eyes are on it in the middle of the year.
And if your team doesn't make the grand final, sure, everyone watches the grand final, but am I going to get that passionate about
Melbourne, Sydney when you don't have any
when I'm a Dragons die hard? No. I'm always going to be fired up. The Dragons can have not won a game, but you're going to be fired up for
you always have a team to back
for State of Origin. So it'd be interesting to see what the ruling is here. I think it seems like we're all in the same camp here, where we think just leave it. You do.
If anything, fix up the rules currently for
make it
picking
more-
Queensland New South Welshmen.
Yeah, make it more
Make
stringent.
that a bit more easier to figure out.
I swear it used to be where you played your first junior football. Whichever club you're at, that's where you played. And then there were guys, Greg Inglis, that changed his mind on that. Grew up, I think he initially was in Kempsey and then moved to over the northern side of the border as maybe a 12-year-old, and then it's kind of more like
where you played.
Who you identify
or where
as,
your first grade game was, or something like that. Like it's.
Who knows? Who knows? Yeah. We'll follow up and see what the NRL has to say if they will accommodate for some of these Polynesian players. Yeah, I think we're all in the same camp here.
Yep.